All right, so this is Dear Evan Hansen. It came out I think a couple weeks ago or something like that last month, and I heard a lot about it. I heard about the story, and I was like, wow, I really kind of want to talk about that. So it's directed by Stephen Bosky. I guess that's how you say his last name, and I'll say how I feel about it in a second. Ben Platt plays Evan Hansen, the main character in this. I believe he also plays him in the musical, the actual stage musical, and so that's why they were like adamant on him playing him in this movie, which I understand to a certain extent, but he definitely looks too old. So Evan Hansen, he's taking medication and things like that. He's really not very good at like communicating with people, and he has like no confidence in talking to people. But he kind of talks to like one friend that's not even really a friend. He's a family friend. Jared Kalwani, played by Nick Dodani, who's probably my favorite character. He has like the best lines. Julianne Moore plays his mother, and she's like never around or whatever. So he kind of has that extra loneliness on top of not having pretty much any friends. So he has this confrontation one day at school with this kid named Connor, who's kind of getting picked on, and he kind of goes off on him or whatever. So later on, he's writing this letter or typing this letter. Dear Evan Hansen, it's a letter to himself that his therapist, kind of has him doing. It's kind of like this exercise that the therapist has him doing to like build confidence and things. So he does that in the library, I believe in the library, and prints it out on the printer for whatever reason. They say he did it on accident. It looked like he did it on purpose. And Connor gets a hold of it, even after they seemed like they were starting to get along, and he like signed his cast and everything. And so he believes that he printed it out to make fun of him. So he takes the letter, pushes him down, and then he runs away. Connor ends up killing himself after that, and he still has the letter. So the parents believe that he had actually typed out that letter to give to Evan, and that they had like this secret, friendship that the parents just didn't know about. I guess nobody knew about. So he starts coming around, more and kind of becomes almost like part of the family. He's getting close to the daughter, who he's always liked, and all that. And it goes even further when he like gives a speech at his memorial. Like it's just it goes off the rails. But they get donations to bring back the orchard that he loved and things like that. It spirals pretty out of control, and obviously eventually people are going to find out. There's going to be some fallout from that, but it's ultimately still supposed to be this kind of uplifting story, and you're still, I guess, supposed to root for him, kind of. So this movie is not good. Obviously, it has one of the most off-putting stories I've probably seen in a long time, maybe ever. But there are some good things here. All the performances are great. Julianne Moore, Amy Adams, who plays the mother of Connor. Amy Adams, you definitely need to get like a new agent or something. I don't know what's going on with these roles that you keep picking. First, that the Netflix has been fucking you up, and then this. I mean, I don't know what to say. But she's good. The songs are pretty good. Like there's a couple of them that are a little bit too much and a little bit cringy when they really want to hit the emotional beats. But I really like that first song. The first song, I thought that was a good one to kind of get us into his life, and it's shot really well. Most of the movie's shot well, but like seeing all the different students and how they're like. Yeah, they're kind of like talking over his song and all that. It kind of really works with his character and his story. Like I said, Nick Dodani's character, I really liked. He had some funny lines of dialogue. He was always kind of like he was his friend, but he wouldn't admit to being his friend. Kind of almost like he was ashamed of being his friend, but he was still there for him. He even made up fake emails to give the parents to really sell this fake friendship, which is awful. But I like that character quite a bit. There are some emotional moments that I think really work. Like I actually felt bad for him when he, was kind of having like this father-son moment with Connor's dad or stepdad, and then he goes to, text his father, and you see him scroll through his text, and his dad just completely ignores him. It's like, wow, like you actually do feel bad for this character in certain moments. So yeah, I do think things in this were done well. Some things. Ugh, but this story is just too much, right? It's too much to go with. For one, it's It's overly it's overly convenient where I mean, you would have to pay no attention to either one of these guys in order for this to actually work. Like so much of this is like it feels coincidental to me, and it's weird, right? Like the guy that you're pretending to be that you were friends with just happens to be brother and sister with the girl that you've been damn near stalking for a while. Like there's certain parts of it that he knows about her that he probably shouldn't know, and making up emails and at the point when he's wearing Connor's tie while giving a speech at his memorial, like at that point it should be too far. But then like he gains this social media following and all this other like they're looking at the laptop when they see the videos blowing up and he's like, what happened? And she's like, you happened. I was like, Jesus, they give Amy Adams some of the worst lines in this. And she is just so adamant on like, no, come over. Yeah, no, eat this pie. Like, do this, do that, do that. And like, if it wasn't for Amy Adams' character, like, he probably would have admitted things way earlier. But she just kept pushing. So on a certain level, I can see why he's like, well, I'm doing what they wanted me to do. This kid is dead. It's off-putting. It's so weird that you're supposed to look at this and root for this character. And like when he has the opportunity to admit things later on when things have gotten so far and there's apparently a Kickstarter and all these other things to get the orchard made. And Amanda Steinberg's character is like, wait a minute, you said in the note or you said in the emails or whatever that you broke your arm and like Connor was there to save you. That was part of his speech. And she's like, well, in June we were still in school and you didn't have the cast. And when we came back in September, you had your cast, like, or you got your cast in September. So obviously this is wrong. And it's like, there's so much of this, yeah, that anybody paying attention would be like, you guys never interacted with each other. Why would he have secret emails and things? You guys don't have any phone calls, any texts between each other. Why would he hide the fact that he has a friend? Yeah, that song when he gives that speech and you see all those people on social media, you have to see this. This really helped me. This really got me through it. My son needed this. I showed this to my son, and that's the kind of that kind of thing does happen on social media. So it's accurate, but knowing that he was making that shit up, it's just it really undercuts any emotion you might have got from that, and it was over the top to the point of being kind of overly kind of cheesy and it was a little cringy anyway, but it's added on there like all of these emotional moments that have to do with his relationship with Connor. We know is not real. He is. I have to imagine he was like stalking the song where he's singing to the sister, trying to act like, oh, that was the brother that noticed these things about you all this time and just didn't. You're so far away. He just couldn't really, voice these things to you. It's just the thing that probably is the most disturbing about this is when he finally reveals that it was all bullshit to the family, because the family's getting hate now because the note gets revealed and people are like, wait a minute, his suicide note went to his friend but not his family. That makes no sense. So they're getting hate, as the internet does, and so he reveals it finally. Oh, by the way, these parents were going to use the money that they'd set aside to pay for his college tuition. So it had gone that far, and he was perfectly fine with that, by the way. But after they start getting hate, he finally reveals to them that it was fake, and he just starts singing just right after. That's such a weird place for a song to happen. The words fail, words fail. I thought that was ridiculous. I thought that was so funny. But the real problem is that when he finally does reveal to the world pretty much that it was all fake, you don't get to see him get hate on social media. You don't get to see. I mean, they would destroy this kid. His reputation would be shot. He would be 40 years old still hearing about this. But they kind of just move along, right? Like the most you see is he's finally starting to read books that Connor likes and stuff like that to get to know him. The most that he gets from this is that people kind of just like look at him all mad in the lunchroom. It is it is crazy that you see him go through all this. Could easily be a thriller. The whole time I'm thinking this could have been all just an elaborate ruse just to get close to the sister, and then it could turn into like a thriller where he's chasing after her with a knife or something. But obviously, that's not this. They're supposed to have like a legitimate romance. At least they don't end up in the together in the end. But the fact that she met up with him to talk things out, right? Like I'm trying to think. Like if I was part of that family and I'd have found that out, that he had done all this just to deceive us like that, I'd have wanted to whoop his ass right there. But he gets almost no comeuppance from this. At least if he's gonna do all this, at least let the punishment fit what he's been doing. But it doesn't. Instead, they want to really have this uplifting type thing where it's like, well, he was, his mom was never around and he never really had a family. And you're almost supposed to like they're making excuses for the character after that. Like there's never a moment for you to really. I mean, he feels sad, but there's never a moment for him to really feel what he did. I do like the songs, like the performances. Julianne Moore, Amy Adams, even though some of this dialogue doesn't work. Ben Platt is great, even though he's way too old, and it's kind of uncanny, especially in the close-up shots. I mean, it does not look right. But at a certain point, like all those things that are good about the movie is fine, but like this story is so bad. I mean, it is so off-putting, right? Like you see the trailers and you're like, oh, it's this uplifting story about this lonely kid that's gonna find his voice and all this other stuff, and then you see the movie and it's like, oh no, this is about a kid who gets popularity, friendship, and even gets a romance with the girl he's always had a crush on by pretending to be best friends with a kid that committed suicide that he barely knew. It's like, that's disgusting. Like, how can you just go along with that? I'm gonna give this a rental only because of the performances and songs, and I do think it's for the most part a well-made movie, it's well shot and all these other things, but it's still watchable. And there are some emotional moments that I really do think people will still somewhat connect with. But that's it. That's Dear Evan Hansen.